Hello, and welcome to the SP Film Viewers podcast.
We're your hosts, Sophie and Paul, where we talk about movies I've never seen.
And sometimes movies I've never seen.
You can find us on all major podcast platforms.
Please remember to subscribe and review our show wherever you listen.
And follow us on social media. Just search for SP Film Viewers.
And now, on with the show. Dear God is one of the characters that appears in this film we're going to be talking about.
Are you praying?
Today.
Like, we're gathered here today.
We are gathered here today to for another instalment of anime, and this time we're here to discuss and review or have a look back on a Ghibli film that we've seen before, and that is Princess Mononoke.
Yeah. We are here to review it. I don't know, out of all the Ghiblis, I think this is one that I don't remember that well, which maybe is good that we're watching it and reviewing it. I don't think it's one that
You've maybe only seen it the once then.
Probably,
perhaps.
yeah.
With me, yeah. I've this is probably third or fourth time.
Really?
So the only difference for me this time around, I think, will be watching with the original Japanese track. Well, I will have seen it with just the English dub.
Why is that?
Why haven't I seen it?
Yeah, because like normally for me, like you always put the Japanese version on. I never really see, apart from like Totoro and Ponyo. I think you start and
yeah, I think
you were easing me in initially, and then now
that's probably what occurred. I think it was just because at that point I didn't know, when I would have seen it in the past, I wouldn't known any. And going like, because I mean, to be fair, the way that the English versions of these Ghibli films are normally pretty decent. Yeah. Sometimes you can get, you witness yourself when you've tried other ones, other animes and stuff, and it just sounds weird how they're coming across, that the situation doesn't marry up with how they're expressing themselves or something like that.
Yeah, or the lip syncing looks way out of whack. Whereas I feel like a Ghibli, normally if it's English,
they try and do their best. Yeah,
the wording looks similar. It doesn't look that out of sync.
Yeah. Is
this my favourite Ghibli? No, it's not. But that's probably because this is a bit darker, I'd say. Not in a... It's more to do with war,
It's not Grave of the Fireflies.
It's not. But it's no Totoro or Ponyo, if that makes sense. And I think it'd be unfair for me to try and compare them in the same
likewise for me, yeah. Because I really love those movies. Off their own merit. Let's be honest, there's a lot of Ghibli films that are very much high up there.
I'd probably still pick Spirited Away over this one as well. Personally, I feel like they're like going to be my top 3.
I think that was the one for a lot of people. That's like when it broke out into like the Western market, really. Although this, on the back of the Blu-ray I've got, it does say the first of Miyazaki's films to gain mainstream attention in the West. So
is that because it's to do with war?
No, I don't know. I think it was just quite a popular and exciting.
No,
film,
I find that hard because, like, for me, I think this one is more action packed. It's more explosives. It's more bombs, and I think maybe for me, I'm not a big action lover. I get the story and I get the message it's coming and portraying.
What would you say the whole message of the film?
It's just been good to the land, isn't it? And the environment that you've got.
Of good and evil with that, yeah.
Just being kind to the nature and the forest and like the world that you're living on. That's how I would interpret it. And obviously it feels like it's an era where everyone just is using violence as a
means to get by, yeah.
Yeah.
To take control of.
And that's then consuming you with the demons and everything and the animals and
being
the balls.
Corrupt, yeah.
It's quite apt as well because V-Day is 8 years now. So obviously it's it does feel like a bit of a war film, not like Grave of the Fireflies, like you said, it's not, but it's still showing like the impacts of war and what can happen And I think it's just one of those things where it's like, well, thankfully, at least we hadn't had a world war for 80 years. But then there is many other little ones going around. But I think this is just like, everyone's just doing it just to gain more land. And when I was sat there, I was just thinking, this is ridiculous, isn't it? The thought of just somebody shooting somebody just to gain more land, or they don't, like, I don't get what the Iron Lady benefits, like, trying to kill the forest spirit. Like, I don't know what her aim is. Like, what's her beef with the forest? Like, I still don't know why. Like, obviously, I feel like, personally, she started it with the boars and gone out of her way
to grow her community, that the iron works. Yeah.
And she's gone out of her way to, like, upset the boars, in a sense. And that's why they want to attack her. Like, she's the one that started it. Which,
in itself, sounds like, oh, she's an absolute massive supervillain, but she doesn't, at the same time, she doesn't really come across that way. She's very, like, supportive of the people, like, the women in the village kind of respect her and everything like that. They're not, like, blindsided by what she does and everything, so they're very much, like, grateful for her, like, taking her on. You know, they said, like, oh, they would just be working in brothels otherwise. Yeah. So they works hard, but they're actually very much cared after, and the men are very respectful of them. They don't overstep the boundaries and everything like that, which obviously that would be much the case in that. So yeah, it's very, there's the hero and villain dynamic going on through everyone, but at the same time there's no clear, like, defined, like, who's right, who's wrong kind of thing. I think it's trying to find the balance with nature and modern civilization, as it were, but
what the Prince...
new technologies, as it were. We obviously like the iron to make the weapons to.
And I think that's what the Prince, bless him, while he's all the way throughout this film, is trying to juggle between the two.
He's got the conflict. Like, multiple times the characters are, like, saying, whose side are you on? And it's like, well, I'm not really on anybody's side. He's not trying to pick an allegiance, which I kind of get, because I'm a bit like that myself. Like, I'm not trying to have the balance. If somebody's having an argument and it's like, oh, I like both of
yeah,
you
don't want to side.
I don't want to, like, oh yeah, you're definitely right, because I don't want to get on the wrong side of that person or this person or anything. Like, I like the civility of things.
You're very amicable, aren't you? And you don't really like confrontation.
Yeah.
And I think his heart's in the right place. Like, you can see from either side of the party. Like, you can see why the Iron Lady wants to do what she's doing, but also then he understands the wolf's perspectives and the boars, and he's just trying to do good by everybody.
Yeah. Even with lead title lady, Mononoke. Which...
This is a bit that I think is weird, because I don't think she's as much of the lead as the Prince.
Wouldn't you say that's kind of like think of like Pocahontas, though, because obviously it's him, what's he called? I don't remember the name. John. Going all the way to the land and then discovering her, and that's what kind of happens here, isn't it? He's obviously on a quest to, for this curse that he's got from a demon boar, and then he's got to be, the elders like, got to rid himself.
I do think John does a lot less than this Prince.
Ashitaka, yeah.
Yeah, I would say, like, John comes over with all of these people and wrecks the forest, whereas this one's already learned that he doesn't need to do that. He just wants to heal a demon cure, whereas Pocahontas is trying to save her family and her land and all of that. I think she's more, I don't know, Pocahontas for me seems more prevalent as, like, a character. Like, I would say she
deserves the title of the film.
She does.
Whereas you don't think Mononoke does.
Not as much, no. I don't think she's a strong lead as Pocahontas. Like, you couldn't compare the two, in my opinion.
Right. I'd say that I don't really,
Oh, don't get me started. Pocahontas and Mulan, it's really weird, actually, now thinking about it, because they used to be, like, two of my favourite.
Mulan, I get, like, strong woman.
100%. But Pocahontas. She is.
But I think because having her as the title character for the film is sort of, she's like the go-between the nature and, like, the human world.
She's Tarzan.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, she's raised, well, obviously, like Jungle Book, raised by wolves type.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that would have been easier, wouldn't it, instead of monkeys. Yeah.
There are monkey spirits in this, but
yeah, they're a bit evil.
Yeah. But the Japanese translation for the film or her is Mononoke Hime, which literally translates to Monster Princess.
Oh, it's like Pokemon Pocket Monster.
So whether that's meaning like she's a princess who is a monster, or she's princess of the monsters, i.e. the wolves, or
I think she's a princess of the monsters, yeah, of the wolves. Because to be fair, they are like all, some of them are gods, aren't they? So like is her mum a god, I think.
Yeah.
And the boar, what's his name?
Oh, Okuto's the boar. Yeah, the big white boar, yeah.
He's a god as well. So like you've got gods of the forests, but then you've got
the actual like spirit guardian.
He's weird. He's got a human face, but then he's got like it's like the Pokemon with all the antlers.
Do you mean Xerneas, like the
colourful deer?
Yeah. I think that's what inspiration for Pokemon in that
really
regard. I think because it's kind of got that same sort of antlers, and it's like a life bringer type of thing. Even though this one also deals with like the death and rebirth of life in the forest. I think there's just the.
But I think he's fair. Like I feel really bad for him actually, and at the end, like I think this thing is. I can't call it a deer, can I? I don't really know what it is.
Well, it's just the forest guardian, yeah, if you will.
Yeah, apart from having a human face, he seems to be like.
But also has that other form where it kind of like becomes that big like giant
night shifter.
Yeah.
Or crawler.
Yeah, night shifter. Yeah.
I think though he's having to decide, or she's having to decide from right from wrong. Like
who is sorry?
The spirit god, and like decides on when someone should die, when someone should be helped back to life.
Yeah.
And what level of manipulation is he or she gonna give?
Let's call it they.
So, like for example, the first bit that we see is the boar that's like a massive demon, which did kind of give me Spirited Away vibes of when he's going into the bathhouse.
Oh yes, yeah. The swamps spirit, yeah. All the sludge. I love how they make that look the way they do. It's like how. They make food look delicious. How they make this kind of like
goop,
oozy sludge, like really just like
and disgusting. And been hand drawn at this point, won't it?
Well, almost everything, like
apart from what's coming out nowadays.
Yeah,
but
I think they went back to that with Boy and Heron. But yeah.
I think it's just really clever.
Yeah, again, just thinking about all those like shots and stuff like with this as well. Like everything, like is just. Land looks pretty, especially when Ashitaka's at the beginning, like going on his journey and everything like
really
that.
Really picturesque, isn't it?
Yeah. But sorry, you were saying about the ball.
Yeah. So obviously,
monstrous. Yeah.
You kind of get in his vibe coming in. You can see like the threat towards the village and the town, and obviously he's the prince, so he's got his elk.
Goes by the name of Yackle, I think.
It's going to be called Elk.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
And he's trying to save his village, and I feel like all he ever wants to do in this is just be good by everybody. And he kind of suffers the consequences a little bit.
Yeah.
Like obviously then in the end he does defeat the boar, but he's got like the demon
begrudgingly, because it's like, no, I'm trying to reason with it, but then as soon as I think it's his younger sister or something, when she like falls down and he's like, oh, she's going to get attacked, right, I've got to shoot him in the eye, and end it now. He doesn't really want to do that, but he gets punished for doing this almost, yeah.
But he's just wanting to rescue.
Yeah, his family and villages, the whole time.
So then we're on a new quest of him trying to cure the demon wound. He has to part from his family and his village and not be part of it anymore.
Yeah.
And he's like a bit like a lone wolf, so he kind of fits in with San.
Yeah, that's a human name, yeah.
I don't know, I feel like he's got like lots of encounters where he don't really side with anyone, so he's got this weird character that's on some sort of high-heeled sandal skill.
I think that there's traditional Japanese shoes, I don't know what you call them, but I don't know how they must have very good balance to walk on them. They're kind of like stilts.
They really look uncomfortable though, because they're all wooden as well, and it's just doesn't look like it should be easy to balance on at all. That
character's called Jigo, I think.
I don't know what his aim is. I just don't actually know.
Well, I said to you, he feels like a bit of he just sides with whoever he thinks is like he'll gain favour from. Like he's very much I'll side with you, but then when it benefits him, he'll kind of go with somebody else just to
Very fickle.
get by. Really, think of Benny from the Mummy film. Yeah, where he's kind of like, even though he was very much more of a coward, but then when it suited him, he's like, oh, I'm there with Rick. Yeah.
I get that.
And then scampers away but this guy, this guy seems a lot more clued in on like what he's, what will benefit for his line in his pocket or.
Yeah, because I think he wants to befriend the prince and wants to go on the mission with him, like, but the prince just don't want to and gets up in the morning and leaves him basically. And he's like, oh, okay. So then he starts making connections with the Iron Lady.
Lady Eboshi, yeah.
And I think it's just, I feel like out of all of them, I just feel sorry for him, like, as the prince, basically, because he's the only one that's trying to help everybody, but nobody's helping him.
It is, he's essentially, fighting a losing battle, which I kind of could sympathise with him in the way that he's trying to get by with, trying to come across as being somebody to level the playing field, as it were, but can't.
I think for me, I'm always been more of a animal person. So like, if I had to be the prince, I'd be siding with the forest 100%. Like, yes, okay, don't get me wrong, I do like to eat pork, and that's probably what a boar is, like.
Very much, yeah.
I wouldn't. If I had to kill it myself, I'd probably be really lazy and not want to. Like, I wouldn't want to physically hurt anything. So it's like, and I wouldn't want to ruin the land of a forest, like, because it's so peaceful and calming. So I would side more with the animals in this than the humans. Like, I think humans are very fickle. Like, we just want to fight everything to get his own way, instead of, like, compromising and going the right way about it. Like, the Iron Lady, what's her name?
Lady Ibushi.
How many wars has she got with people? Like, all you see her doing is
Lord Asano with the samurai clan. That's they're going against and everything. Yeah,
and even at the opener, you see her shooting whoever. And you're just like, what's going on? Why is there so many kind of like scenarios where, obviously, I know she's creating iron, so she's in
stripping
that industry
the land for that. Yeah.
At the same time, it kind of shows you, like, at the back end where the elk gets shot and how loyal an animal
can be, yeah.
And that kind of, even though I knew he's not a real animal, I knew that an elk or like anything like a horse or anything like that would still be loyalty, or a dog for definite.
Yeah.
And it just tugged to my heartstrings a little bit, like he's putting himself in that environment and situation just because he solely loves that person so much. Like, would a human actually do that? It was very selfish.
Yeah, you normally do have that thing, don't you, with the humans, if that happens in war, you're like, go on without me. And then as a human, you're supposed to be like, oh, no, I won't let you die. And you try and drag them as far as you can, rather than just go, oh, okay. That's the thing. But some people would, depending on their nature and everything, they would.
And it depends on how much you mean to them as well.
Yeah. I kind of get what you mean, both the loyalty to the animals there. I really like the, I think you always kind of had this in like Ghibli films as well, like a little kind of, let's I call them cute, the little what they call kodamas, I think, the tree spirits, the little white, the little shaky heads, like almost like a bobblehead type of thing, which I'm sure has probably been done by now. Like somebody's made a little bobblehead version.
100%.
Yeah,
but it's like, I feel like you could go with they remind me of the Sputnik things, what are they called? Soot
sprites.
Yeah.
From Totoro and and even from Spirited Away. That's what I mean, like they always have some kind of
little thing.
Yeah. And the purpose of them being there, and so many of them, is that they show sign of a healthy forest. Like it's not in turmoil or anything like that. So with them being around as little spirits, then they kind of look after the forest in a way.
They're freaky, but they're cute.
Yeah, they could be interpreted as kind of like something from a horror film.
It could. Yeah. It could go that way.
If you were surrounded by him, but which is obviously why the villagers freak out. There's a character, what's he called? Kuroku, who's one of the villagers from the Ironworks.
Is that the one that he rescues?
Yeah. When that Ashitaka rescues, yeah. He's carrying him through the forest to take him back to where he belongs. And he's like, he's I think that they're all kind of... It's the whole thing of like, oh, there's monsters in the forest type of thing, and they're all just scared, and they're just quite ignorant of like... Which is something he says is also shown of that at the end when he says everything's kind of like... The greenery grows around. He's like, oh, I didn't know the tree spirit made the flowers grow. It's like, well... Yeah. Shouldn't you... I feel like you should know that information, because like, how else do you
think it does it?
That's it. Yeah.
I think that's
in this scenario, of course. You know, obviously we know it's like photosynthesis. Yeah.
Do we? I do think though it's one of those things where it's just showing you to appreciate the land and what you've got and take what you need, but not everything. Like
not strip it of it, because you'll end up with nothing, and just everything's just barren, and then just and how far people will go to push things, but not necessarily see the damage it's doing to not just nature, but also humans as well.
Do you think there's like forest spirits in gardens? Do you think we have any that our plants? Think we have anyone helping them grow?
Like what, little garden spirits, little gnomes, little fairies?
What do you think?
You can think that, but probably not true at all.
Imagine, Paul, if children are listening to this, you're just completely shattering their illusions. Meanie. But no, I think it's a nice concept to think, well.
Yeah.
And I think it makes you realise, like, the world is so fascinating. I think we just take it for granted sometimes, like, how amazing the world actually is. Like, trees help you breathe and give you oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you need all the greenery and the sun, the moon, everything. Like, all the seasons we go through, it's just absolutely amazing when you think about it. And I think this film kind of makes you realise how magnificent the world actually can be. Mm-hmm. And I think for us humans basically wreck it, sadly, is...
Yeah. It's not like a completely hopeless message at the end of the film, thankfully. It's kind of seeing the error of the ways.
Yeah.
Even though they're rebuilding the land, but they're kind of seeing it with...
different eyes, I think.
Which is... Was it? They said at the start of the film, I will see with eyes unclouded, which I think that's what Ashitaka's going on for that whole journey, really. So it's, again, not doing the judgment of like, what's the best thing to do in this situation, or to kind of assess it as I go through, but I'm still not being like, right, okay, we've got to do this, you're definitely wrong here. Yeah. Stand up to that. It's like, you know, when he's kind of in that scuffle with San and Iboshi, when they're like fighting in the courtyard, and he kind of like steps in. He's got his demon arm to kind of like, his hatred that he's kind of like grown manifested from that, to stop that. Like put a pause, because that's like there's already that hatred going on in that fight between the two of them, and he's having to step in to put a stop to it with their own hatred, but he doesn't really want to. Again, he's kind of like,
he's just trying to be the better person yet again all the time.
Yeah, and he kind of just like, at that point, he knocks them both out. He walks over with San over his shoulder, and then one of the women who's got her own like hatred, like, oh no, you can't be going, and gets shot, and it's like, oh, why? Like, the situation's like, I know that was an accident, but even so, that's...
But then yet again, like, even the forest god, it removes the bullet, but doesn't cure him of the actual demon power. Yeah. And it's like, why couldn't he have done both? Yeah, well, that's sort of like a lingering reminder of... I think in the end he does get cleared from it though, doesn't he? But he still doesn't hang around. Like,
who doesn't? The
prince is still like a bit of a... Well, he doesn't go back home, where he could now go back home to, you know, be a king. He doesn't. He doesn't become a wolf and stay with San. Like, he kind of just becomes this, like, floater again, where he's...
No, he said he's going to help rebuild the ironworks.
Yeah, but then he said he'd go see San now and again.
To oversee, because then that way he can stay in close proximity to both. So he can oversee...
He's getting the best of both worlds.
Yeah. And she says, like, I can never really trust humans, but yet we'll still meet up. Kind of thing. Yeah, which is kind of an interesting way of looking at that, isn't it? Like, I'm not your friend. Oh, sorry, I'm not friends with your kind, but you're okay. We'll still hang out.
Thanks. No. That's nice to know, Paul. You'll still hang out with me.
obviously for me, one of the big selling points is, no, it's not a super cutesy one. It's very dark, but also, well, not very dark.
No, we've had darker.
We've had darker, but the fact that it's showing, obviously, like, limbs flying off, with arrows being shot. And
typical boy.
But in such a way that's not, like... Grotesque, yeah. Mm.
Still, I think it's just...
And obviously, like, with the big boars getting, like, they look like they're very much in pain, like, bleeding. Again, like, it looks very, very painful for...
Why are you happy about that?
But just in the sense of how, like, grandeur it look in the way of, like, it's obviously a fantasy film, but the fact that they've gone to that effort to do that, but not in like that's disgusting. It's just like the monstrous.
I would have never thought the word grandeur with blood oozing out was ever going to be used in the same sentence. But if that floats your boat, sweets, that's fine. I think that kind of weakens it for me, but I think obviously for you it would.
But like I said, don't get me wrong, there's like the beauty in like the background illustrates like the Roman fields and everything like that. Then even with the forest and
things
like that.
I just think it's more. I think it's got good morals. It's very long.
It's probably the longest Ghibli film from what I recall. Yeah.
So long.
But I feel like I don't think there's anything particularly wasted in. It's all relevant to it's not like this could be cut out. I think it all serves a purpose.
Kind of. I think just for me, because it's more action based, I'm thinking, well, less wars, less. And I think I understand why this is probably for me being put to the back of my head a little bit. It's not as strong as what I'd remember. I think when you said we were going to watch this, I remember going to a different. I don't know if it was Ghibli. She was a seedling.
It's the Princess Kaguya, I think it was. Yeah, that's more like very much hand drawn one. Yeah,
and I think that was a lot cuter.
Yeah, because of the style that they went with that.
Yeah, and I think that's what I thought I was watching, and then realised I wasn't.
But this one, along with like a lot of films, were like directed by Hayao Miyazaki. So I think the other one was directed by somebody else.
Right.
So it's hard to see Miyazaki in his prime, shall we say, even though he said like, we're never making another film again, and then he comes out of retirement again to do something. But yeah, guys, so he's such passion for the art form, and especially, which I wholly agree with, like the fact that he doesn't want it. He wants everything like hand drawn and things. Like no digital effects to make it. Yeah, to make things quicker and everything. The art form, the passion and the feeling and the emotions that you get from that doesn't shine through that. So
no, I agree, because I think it's like when we did watch the one we started, didn't we? One of them ones that was more like 3D.
Was it called? Was it Earwig? Earwig and the Witch or something like that? Yeah, the 3D one, and it just looked weird.
It just didn't feel right, did it? Yeah. We couldn't get past it, and they looked a bit ugly. Whereas this is just so beautiful. I think it reminds me of like when I was younger, so like watching like your traditional Disneys and knowing that's where it was like a flip book effect, like of animation, back in the day. Like if you looked at Snow White, for example,
right,
it would be more hand.
Well, yeah,
drawn.
That
was just how it
did.
Was. It
yeah.
Like obviously now Disney's not.
Yeah, they don't bother with that anymore.
No, but I
feel like they should do, and this is why we wouldn't complain about like these 3D remake live action.
They wouldn't do it because it wouldn't take forever, so they wouldn't bother.
Anyway, that's a conversation for another day.
But I think this is why nostalgicness like kind of comes into watching these a little bit, just with the style of the animation, the way it's hand drawn is just stunning.
Timeless, yeah.
It's beautiful. It's just so much effort, but it's amazing to see and watch. And sometimes you take it for granted, like how they did the explosions. I don't actually
exactly know. I've said this about like with even like modern stuff where they're using more 3D elements, like with Demon Slayer, like the anime show, and it's like how you even put that down as a storyboard, right? Okay, this shot, he's fighting thing and he's spinning around and all the fire, and how how do you even
where does it visualize
that? Yeah, blows my mind. And like I say, with things like that, even like when it go back to how the arrows firing the trajectory of how it's moving along, and you like feel the force of like how the arrow fires, like
head pops off,
and things are just like there's things that you don't expect from a Ghibli film, but it's still like takes you back, like how impactful that is, but yet we're in this kind of world that kind of feels like you're familiar with, like especially with how obviously the characters are drawn, they fit the style and everything like that, and
I think it's also like when the spirit god gets his head like chopped off or like arrowed off.
Yeah.
She literally hits him in the eye, and I was like,
initially.
Yeah, and he's like, he's not dead.
Yeah.
That's fine. And then she does it again, and I'm like,
when he sends it.
And I'm just like, oh my goodness. And I didn't think he would, even though we watched it, like I'd forgot that she killed him and what had happened. Because I can imagine me watching this probably if it was late on. This is a long film for me, and the subtitles are not too hard, but I think it's probably I'd have been falling asleep if we hadn't of like back in the younger days when we started dating. This would have been like a
So you kind of did say like, oh, there's something about Ghibli films, even with the context of this, you felt a bit like, oh, this is quite relaxing, even though there was these dramatic scenes. It's obviously not a barrage of like happening all the time. Obviously, there's quiet moments and stuff, but
and it's calming in a sense.
Yeah,
even though there's a lot happening.
Yeah, it knows when to sort of take a breather with that, reflect on things. But as I say, it's not like this is a boring scene, this doesn't add anything. I feel like it does. It's kind of a chance to sort of reflect between characters of like what's going on, like who's where, who's there, and what the motivations are next, and all that kind of stuff. It just seems to work for me. But let's say blood and gore and
it's just the action. It's just blowing everybody up.
Dramaticness of it all isn't probably your bag, but
no, it's not my most favourite Ghibli. It's not one that I'd be like, oh, next week let's put it on. Like that's probably because it's not as light and fluffy. It doesn't mean it's not good. It's just not like one that's going to stick as strongly. I would say like I'd probably gush more over Ponyo than I would this, but that's just preference, isn't it? I do feel sorry for like the night crawler at the end, like. Or night walker, what's it called? Night shifter.
Yeah, night shift, yeah.
We get there.
It's on the night shift, yeah.
And, because all he wants is his head, he just wants his stuff back, like...
Give him my head back, man.
And it's just like, well, why are you being mean to him? Like, you've caused chaos, you've destroyed...
almost immediately, the whole forest just goes, like, then the little Kodamas, like, fall from the trees, and it's like, oh, are you killing them? Like, and everything, the whole... land becomes toxic and everything's like...
He's literally doing like a volcano towards the iron land, like...
Yeah.
And that gets all corroded and everything.
Destroyed, yeah.
Once he gets his head, it's quite a bit of a metaphor, isn't it? Where you can lose your head a little bit and you go completely berserk.
I don't know if I didn't think of that, to be honest. But...
Then once he gets his head back on, he's like, oh, okay, here's all the green back, you can have it back now. Like, he rewards them straight away.
Yeah, I think that's from the goodness of Ashitaka's heart there, really. If it was maybe anybody else, he probably would have been like, well, I'm still going to not fix anything. But I think because of he's trying to give the thing, and there's this like balance, like, please stop all this turmoil. And I think there's something in that, I feel like. That's why it's not completely like, well, the land is all like full of salt and ash and just destroyed. There's no trees or anything now. It's kind of like covering up all... I do like that on building sometimes, when the nature takes over those kind of
There's
things.
A lot
it
in
looks
Japan
like really
as well,
pretty.
That way, isn't there?
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting as well how the spirit god decided on the two gods, like the mum wolf and the other
two small ones. Oh, right, yeah, sorry.
To like kind of go, right, okay, they look like they're passing, we'll just ease it and take their lives kind of thing. And he didn't have any crime of going, oh, well, I'll take both. Like, he could have let the mum wolf live because she hasn't really done anything wrong in comparison.
No, she was saving San from Okoto. One, obviously, when he starts being more corrupt, taken over by the demon.
But he's still, like, neutralised as a spirit god. Like, he's not going good or bad. He's just going, right, okay, it's time for you both to...
Yeah, I think it's like that because he knows, like, the bigger wolf, Moro, has also got the iron ball in hers, so obviously from the shootout with Hiboshi and stuff, just like the war at the beginning. Also, the corruption of the land. Yeah, with that.
She's a bit vicious towards the prince as well. Like she
well,
typical
rightly
mother.
So. Yeah, in it's like not trusting humans. Like, and he's saying like, no, she is a human as well, not a wolf. And it's like, no, she's my beautiful ugly daughter. So it's kind of like she's conflicted of like the fact that she still loves this child, but knows at the same time like she's not a true wolf, but kind of like at the same, like she's very protective of her. The parents left her the baby in the basket or whatever to
kind of, but it was more like they were doing something wrong in the forest. They got scared and just abandoned the baby by accident. It sounds. It does sound like she kind of could have stole the baby in a capacity.
Could have very much done that, couldn't they? But for some reason didn't with that. But Moro does get sort of like a vengeance on Hiboshi anyway. She does one last thing. There's a wolf head just like snaps her arm off kind of thing. Because she did want to bite her head off, but it's close enough. Causes some damage to it despite of it all. And so again, that's sort of for her, Hiboshi, to like have that come into terms with what she's done at the end of when she's thinking about it. The whole situation.
She kind of does a 360 turn, doesn't she? But it's like, well, why did you have to do it in the first place? Could you not add that kind of premonition earlier? Like, but you wouldn't have a story otherwise, would you?
So there's a lot of, I guess you call it a fable, really, of like a tale, as we said, like we're seeking the balance between both nature and the modern society.
I'm always for nature. I'm always going to go, you know me, I love my gardening, I love any kind of thing like that. I think I don't want to be having guns and wars and crap like that.
What if spiders started taking over
the garden?
No, just like again in a war, would you be like, well,
I'd be running away,
nature,
Paul.
Exactly. You'd be shooting them dead, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't be shooting them. I'd be running the other way. How big are they?
Big, like ball size.
I'd be hiding. Yeah. I wouldn't be tackling them. I'd be like,
if it's a choice between you like saving your clan or whatever, and the spiders coming out of the forest.
I'd be literally shaking in my boots. I'd be like locking on my windows.
Kill it with fire.
I'd just be hiding. It's massive. It's going to take forever to kill if there's loads of them. No.
So you gotta think about it.
It's never going to happen, is it?
You don't know that.
I've got you anyway. You're the spider killer, not me. I'll send you out.
Immediately die and then
the spirit god will bring you back to life and you can go back out again.
That quickly.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll wrap up there if there's anything else to...
How are we doing this? Like, who's doing the score?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Then. Why did you say that then?
No, it's fine. I'm glad you're going first.
Okay.
I feel like you're going to score it highly.
Yes, I'm going to ask. You're rightly so. Do you want to hazard a guess?
10?
Correctamundo. As we said before, it's obviously very different class between Totoro and, well, say, and even like Grave of the Fireflies. That's good in its own way, but obviously wasn't. I can't say the top marks because of the nature of the context of the. But this has, for me, this is a lot of fantasy epics thing, and that's what this kind of has. And it has characters that you can obviously latch onto and understand, like the motives and stuff, and the balance of it all. And they're all kind of interesting in their own way. There's nothing in this I'm going, I'll get to the part where they're fighting now or anything like that. Obviously, like I said before, that's quite like a exciting part, but also like beautiful how that's portrayed at the same time, like mainly for the level of detail that they go to in it to get that across in a way that's looks fluid and grotesque, but it's just that's the animation buff I am. That's always going to be a big selling point for me. So yes, it is a 10. Don't really say this a lot with things, but like is like a masterpiece, like in terms of like artistry for 2D animation and storytelling and everything. So. And now, go on, shoot a heart, an iron bullet, ball in my heart, and let me bleed and die. Go on.
It can't be a 10.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's fine. I'm not saying I was expecting you. It must be a 10 and can't be anything less. But
okay.
Please don't be.
I don't think I'm being harsh.
Okay.
I feel like my fairness on this is if I'm going to go and categorize every Ghibli film, it'd start with like my top 3 that I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say not Spirited Away. Firefly. What's it called?
Grave of the Fireflies. Yeah.
I feel like Princess Mononoke is in the middle.
Okay.
I'd say Grave of the Firefly is lower down the chain just because it's good, but it's hard hitting, and I feel like it depends on your frame of mind of when you'd want to pick that film up.
Yes, that is very much I'd be very surprised if anybody was like, oh, you know what I fancy putting on?
Yeah.
Grave of the Fireflies.
I think it is a one and done. Like, you've watched it once and then I don't know if you would really return back to it. This one doesn't give me the feels of what I would class as a traditional Ghibli, as in My Ponyo, Totoro, and that kind of cutesy vibe.
Yeah.
This is a bit more adult.
Yeah.
I would say, which I'm not an adult.
You are.
I'm not. I'm a baby. So I think for me, there's got some good morals, got good concepts. It is beautiful visually.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't seem to get past how lengthy it was. And a lot of it was just shooting and action, which does make it hinder for me. Mm-hmm. It's just not my go-to. So I think an 8 is a strong score. Are you alright with that?
Well, it's your score at the end of the day, but I get what you're saying. I don't know if is maybe not for everybody's cup of tea when it comes to Ghibli films, but this is, like...
I think it's just because you're comparing it to some traditional classics, and this is like a bit of this is a bit different, but it's good different.
I didn't even mention about the soundtrack as well. Like, that's like I had been listening back to that on its own, and just how strong that is. Like, some of that feels like magical and epic at the same time as well. Like, that's also adds to my scoring with that, really. But
I just want to tell everyone like how Paul said that, just because it was really cute. He had both hands on his face and he's like, the soundtrack, and I just had to create that picture for everybody listening because it was cute, and then I felt bad for scoring it only an 8.
Yeah, and I say, like, this is the thing with Ghibli films as well. There's such a diverse catalogue of films that they have that obviously there's more ones that are more like, I feel like as they should be, like more fantastical elements to them. That's what a big sell for animation is, that you to capture things that you can't normally do or create in a normal live action environment, really, other than the CGI, of course. But like, for purpose of that, there are other ones that are more like straight shooting films, like I think The Wind Rises, which is more like just like the love of like aircrafts and stuff like that. Or I think is it one of the ones that kind of I didn't find much in. It's been a while since I've seen that, but Only Yesterday, I think, where it's just like going to like the rice fields and everything, and that's kind of like that's not a strong. Nobody thinking, oh yeah, that's. Yeah. Well, I could be wrong, but nobody's really talking about that film that much compared to like even like Porco Rosso, or obviously like Kiki's Delivery Service and things.
Even Porco Rosso, like I do think though, for me, like that's still like a bit of a slog at times. Like watching it, I enjoy it, but it's still quite all to do with the aircrafts and like. But flying.
Miyazaki loves the thing with aircrafts. So.
But I think then you could do like, for example, like saying Kiki Delivery Service, but then you also Castle.
Howl's Moving Castle, which we did watch like just off our own backs on.
And I really enjoyed that. Yeah. So and that's not like your cutesy, but it's, I don't know, I think if a Ghibli's got a good moral, which this kind of has, it's a good film. And I think that's what I always feel like there's something to do with the land and to respect it, and I think that's just Japanese culture.
Like, that was in Pom Poco, which is obviously the little tanuki things, and they're obviously like their forest land getting bulldozed and
I just think it's funny that we didn't know what they were called while we were going around in Japan.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Thanks to
Taya from For Love of History. Yeah. That's an old episode, that is.
I know. I have to have it back on.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed revisiting this one.
Can tell.
I don't know if you did as much, but...
Not as 10-worthy, but it was good to watch it back again and remember it.
But you wouldn't be like, I don't ever want to see this again, because I know this is only must be your second.
No, I would never write it off, but I wouldn't be like as favourable. Like, if you had to give me an option out of other Ghiblis, I'd probably pick quite a more handful few before I got to this one.
Fair. And I definitely really enjoyed the Japanese subs version.
I don't know, it's weird now, it's just no brainer for me. It's like it's just, and don't know, watching anything in like Japanese now doesn't seem hard work anymore for me. It's just, I'm just used to it. So it does show the more than you watch it, the more it just becomes normalised.
Yeah, 100%. Right, so now we go to our Patreon section, where we obviously, before we get to the people who have already supported the show, we'd like to ask anybody who isn't already a Patreon to help to vote for a movie we watch once a month and have your name read out every single episode. Then please head over to patreon.com/SP Film Viewers, and for as little as £1 or $1.50 a month, you get those lovely little perks and help support the show.
It's definitely worth it, isn't it? It's also nice to actually have the vote and be a bit more swayed once a month if we had more female people join.
More just people in general.
Well, more people, but more Sophie people.
On their wavelength, Yeah.
So hitting off with the Patreons then. Firstly, we've got my mum. Then we've got Alex, who's on Instagram under the handle Desperately Seeking Username. And Shani on SDOG on Instagram.
We've got Jonesy and Emma, who are at WeightLossJonesy and M_Hayton on Instagram. And also our friend Chris Gren, who is at CGren_draw on Instagram.
Then our podcast families. So we've got Mark from 100 Things We Learned from Film, Ben from Push Pull Health, formerly known as Film Bloggers, and Nico from the Good, the Bad and the Weird podcast. So
thank you very much for your continuing support. And as Sophie says, we always welcome new blood.
Yes.
And there will be Patreon poll going up very soon. So
depending on when you sign up, depends on if you get to vote in May. Yeah. How important is that? I mean, for anime. Yeah. It's exciting.
Yeah. And already, I think it's somewhat been a good start with only on the fact of like when putting up the reels on YouTube as well, particularly. Did like a short on there, and that's seemed to have blown up from the Daft Punk Interstellar one. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come. So yeah, do go over to, if you're not obviously follow us on Spotify and everything, but support us on YouTube as well. Be very much appreciated too. So thank you very much for listening. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll speak to you next time. Bye now.
Bye.
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 Bye.